Not too long ago, people used to think you simply couldn't both build muscle and lose fat at the same time. If this was your goal, the typical recommendation would be to undergo a bulking phase to gain muscle first, followed by a cutting phase to shed the excess fat you accumulated along the way. However, recent scientific evidence has challenged this notion, indicating that strength training coupled with proper protein and calorie intake can indeed lead to both fat loss and muscle gain concurrently. For instance, a 2018 study compared the effects of a high-protein diet versus a low-protein diet, combined with a strength training program in experienced female trainees. It found that the group with higher protein intake managed to increase their lean body mass and reduce body fat simultaneously. Similarly, another study compared strength training alone, calorie deficit alone, and strength training combined with a calorie deficit. The groups incorporating strength training not only lost fat but also gained muscle. This simultaneous process is known as body recomposition, and we'll discuss who can achieve it and, more importantly, how to do it effectively. So, who are the prime candidates for body recomposition? There are essentially 4 groups. 1. Beginners in weight training. Those who are new to this type of training are the ones with the greatest potential to gain muscle mass. That's why they can build muscle without needing to be in a caloric surplus, as in a typical bulking phase. In other words, they can achieve this by consuming maintenance calories, or even with a slight deficit, which would simultaneously lead to fat loss. If it's your first time joining a gym or lifting weights, you'll fall into this group. Additionally, you'll also belong to this group if you have some experience with strength training, but have never done it seriously. For instance, imagine you've been going to the gym for a while, but have never followed a training program, never applied progressive overload, haven't gained strength, or haven't seen significant results. 2. Individuals with a high percentage of body fat. You can also achieve body recomposition if you are overweight, obese, or have a high body fat percentage. Around 25% body fat in males and 35% body fat in females are relatively high numbers that could allow you to lose fat and gain muscle simultaneously. This is because you'll have enough energy reserves from your fat stores to support the muscle growth process, even when consuming maintenance calories or a very slight deficit. 3. People who have previously trained but have been inactive for an extended period. If you've gained significant muscle mass in the past and for some reason stopped training and lost it, you will also find yourself in the group of people who can achieve a body recomposition. This is because regaining lost muscle is much faster than starting from scratch. This concept is known as muscle memory. When you train your muscles, something interesting happens. There's an increase in the number of myonuclei. These are responsible for producing the proteins needed for muscle growth and repair. According to existing evidence, these myonuclei are retained even after muscle mass loss. Their retention will facilitate quicker growth upon resuming training. For instance, in one study, a group of individuals underwent 7 weeks of training, resulting in a 6.5% increase in lean mass, followed by 7 weeks of inactivity, leading to a 4.6% reduction in lean mass. When they resumed training for another 7 weeks, the increase in lean mass was 12.4%, which is 5.9% above the initial stage. Thus, although muscle atrophy can occur within a few weeks, someone who previously trained their muscles is likely to rebuild them more easily compared to someone who never did. Additionally, it's also possible to lose fat if accompanied by an appropriate nutritional strategy. 4. People who use anabolic steroids. Individuals utilizing these substances have a greater potential to gain muscle mass compared to people who don't. Actually, their potential to gain muscle mass remains important even in caloric deficit scenarios. However, we strongly advise against using anabolic steroids altogether, as the side effects they can cause are severe. These include a higher incidence of cardiovascular events and diseases, hormonal changes that may lead to infertility, liver damage, among others. But what if you don't fall into any of these groups? If you're not in any of these categories, you're likely someone with at least intermediate experience training with weights. If this is your case and your goal is to continue increasing muscle mass or losing fat, then it would be more effective to do the phases separately, meaning a bulking phase followed by a cutting phase. How to achieve body recomposition. 1. Lift weights. This is the cornerstone of body recomposition. Without it, building muscle mass won't be possible. Actually, strength training is the driving force behind the physical transformation you're striving for, as it will provide the necessary stimulus to your muscles for them to develop. Additionally, it's crucial to make your workouts progressively more challenging so that you continue creating a stimulus for your muscles. This concept is known as progressive overload and can be achieved in several ways, such as increasing the number of repetitions, adding more sets, lifting heavier weights, or improving exercise technique with controlled movements and a greater range of motion, among others. Lift weights at least 3 times a week, incorporating progressive overload and following a structured training plan to track your progress effectively. 2. Consume calories at maintenance level or a very slight calorie deficit. The second most critical aspect of body recomposition is nutrition, as it provides the support your body needs for the muscle-building process stimulated by exercise. Unlike during a bulking phase where a caloric surplus is necessary, in a recomposition phase, there's no need to increase calorie intake. This is because we also want to tap into our existing fat reserves to achieve the second part of the goal, losing body fat. For most people, simply sticking to maintenance-level calories should be enough. However, if you're starting with a high body fat percentage and your main goal is fat loss, then you could achieve body recomposition even with a small calorie deficit. In that scenario, you might consider setting your intake by subtracting 5 to 10% from your maintenance calories. For example, if your maintenance calories are 2,500, a 10% deficit would mean consuming 2,250 calories. We don't recommend a higher deficit, as consuming fewer calories may hinder muscle gain. If you don't know your maintenance calories, you can easily calculate them using FITIA by selecting the weight maintenance option. Download the app for free from the link in the description. 3. Get enough protein. Proteins are a vital nutrient for muscle building, as they constitute the primary component of muscles, second only to water. Evidence has shown that to optimize muscle protein synthesis in individuals who engage in strength training, protein consumption should range between 1.6 and 2.2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight per day, which equals to 0.7 to 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. For instance, someone weighing 160 pounds should aim to consume between 112 and 160 grams of protein daily. Remember that on FITIA, you can get your personalized protein requirements for free. 4. Get enough sleep. Sleep is perhaps one of the most underrated factors for both fat loss and muscle gain. To appreciate its importance, let's look at a study published in 2018. 36 participants who were overweight or obese were divided into 2 groups. Both groups underwent a moderate calorie deficit for 8 weeks. The only difference was that one group slept an average of 1 hour less 5 days a week, but made up for it by adding 1 hour of sleep on the remaining 2 days. The results showed that both groups lost very similar amounts of weight compared to their baseline. However, the group with reduced sleep lost a significant amount of muscle mass and a minimal amount of fat. Of the total weight lost, 85% was muscle mass and 15% was body fat. In contrast, the group that slept adequately primarily lost fat. Of the total weight lost, 83% was body fat. Current literature recommends getting between 7 and 9 hours of sleep each night. Now you know how to achieve body recomposition, and if you want to optimize the process, download FITIA from the link in the description to get your personalized calorie and macronutrient requirements for this goal.